So Matthias, why don't you shed some light with our audience on these pain points?
Absolutely happy to do so, but one private note before, my pain point is listening to all the decades of our experience. I really start feeling old about that. No,
Combine.
Exactly. I'm so glad. No, Tracy, you're absolutely right. Of course, we need to start the development of our business model, of our value proposition. The development needs to start at the pain points. We clearly need to identify what are the problems we actually want to tackle. Mm-hmm. So first of all, let me speak about the consumer, because that is, we are consumer centric, we are people centric. Now, there's hardly any school that is teaching on this planet, I would say, that is teaching finance as a fixed component to the content, to the curriculum, exactly of a school. I remember the discussions we have in Germany. It's frequently going on how to train students, pupils, actually definitely deeper and more for financial matters, financial affairs, and so on and so forth. So there's nothing, let me put it like this, provokingly. Now, we can say that means actually if you're not interested yourself, you will never learn about it. You need to have a strong, high engagement or high self-motivation, I would say, actually to deal with that very boring, very dry, very theoretical, very sometimes complicated topic of finance. Mm-hmm. Okay? So first of all. Now second, let me apply that thought actually to reality, and let me double check whether I would say have our DAB bank customers those days actually being fit and proper or educated to deal with the risk they are actually voluntarily entering into. And the answer is brutally easy. No, most certainly not. We've seen a lot of people really failing. We've seen a lot of people really losing their hard-earned net cash actually just by entering into this legal casino called brokerage.
The stock market.
Exactly, the stock market. Now, as a next point, actually, it is that we can, as a concluding point, actually, we have to say that financial literacy definitely is an issue. It's a global issue. It's a true and existing issue. It's not only an issue that we would say it's some parts of the world. It's a really global issue in all parts of the world, no matter how industrialized another country is. That's the consumers. And just think about what this is creating, what a kind of economical damage actually, because people are losing money where they shouldn't. People are maybe investing money where they shouldn't. So financial literacy and financial education is a very, very relevant and important topic.
And it affects people of all ages.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not just talking about kids or school children.
Yeah. No. And all educational degrees, actually. It is not that a kind of master degree would guarantee that these people are fully educated in finance. Just take a doctor. That person might be, or hopefully is, absolutely well-trained and educated to heal people, but the account or, the financial behavior might be a mess, though, So... it's really all in everybody, all over the place.
Me as well.
So it's a mess, okay? So first of all. Second, stakeholder group we should highlight on is financial institution, and let's call it banks, okay? Let's take banks for all of them. It's unfair, I know, but let's take banks. Now, banks are currently struggling, not only currently, for a decade, I would say, struggling with this high-speed development of digitalization. Digitalization, of course, on the one side in a technical way when it comes to back office infrastructure, blah, 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 but also, and more relevant on the other side, when it comes to the customer behavior and this fast-growing, fast-changing customer behavior driven by, on the one side, the smartphone and all kinds of web services, mobile services, and so on and so forth. Now, we can see that this customer behavior and fast-changing customer behavior is deteriorating the relation in between consumers and banks, for instance. We can see neo banks coming up, we can see neo brokers coming up, we can see lots of new services coming up. Not all and everything out of fintech really is meant to be successful, but it's changing the landscape massively. you know. So as said, this is creating a loss of contact between, this is widening, let me say it like this is widening the gap between actually the bank or the financial services institution on the one side and the consumers on the other side. In the same time, and this is just two major pain points out of a long list, actually. In the same time, I'm doing presentations on that. We can, you know, in the same time, we can see that the regulator actually is increasing the power and scrutiny, maybe some might feel it like this, on the financial services by coming up with additional, you know, like regulation when it comes to KYC and customer, take MiFID, take payments, take PSD2, you know, they have to open up the data. Why should we? You know, the others are not doing it themselves, so why should we? You know, all this kinds of stuff is coming along, which is creating a massive full box of issues to the banking world today, and will maintain that way over the near and long future. So this is the problem statement there. How to deal with all this now on top, besides the long list of issues I already have today, okay? Third stakeholder group that is, I would say, relevant to Tradelite, the game developers. You know, we see actually that the game developers are already pushing into the fintech space, believe it or not. I heard somebody say the other day, quote, Matthias, to me, games are the new fintech. You know, so see, there is, and this is a consultant, really. So we can see that actually that borderline or demarcation line is not that clear anymore. It's becoming gray zone-ish already, and we see that the rifts are shifting, so to say. Yeah. So we see them pushing into fintech space. Actually, we see them creating games that are already integrating those components. Just take CryptoKitties as one example, or Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity in the Philippines, which is a skyrocketing game to the moon, let me say it like this, to the moon. And we see them creating behaviors that it's called play to earn, actually, because people can, in those games, they can trade and they can create and trade NFTs or any kinds of tokenized assets, and are able to earn a game currency that they then convert into a real currency or a fiat currency and then spend for a living. And I find that to be super interesting. So take as another example, Fortnite with hundreds of millions of players, and which is creating more and more of a real economy, actually, to me. You know, people socialize there, people go to concerts, you know, people meet there, which is more exciting than meeting on Zoom, for instance. I've heard companies meeting in games now, you know, instead of Zoom, because they have the Zoom fatigue, but so they show up to a meeting in their game character. How crazy sounds this?
And people buy fashion goods in these games as well. So again, real transactions are taking place in the game world.
And then we come to NFTs, we come to tokenized assets, we come to the integration of financial services. What is your favorite game, Tracy, with the bank?
My favorite game is Clash of Clans. However, my favorite bank-based game is Animal Crossing New Horizon. Because for those of you who don't know this game, Animal Crossing New Horizon, please do look it up. The entire gameplay is surrounding a central bank, and the head central banker is Mr. Coon or Raccoon. He's a raccoon. And the entire gameplay is based on learning about interest rate, how to manage your assets, how to pay off your mortgage, and then you grow crops like turnips and you trade those like commodities trading. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they caused a major article on the FT the other day, which is like 18 months ago, when they changed the lead interest rate in this central bank.
And the Financial Times have reported that the change in interest rate in Animal Crossing New Horizon is forcing the players to invest in riskier assets.
Can you imagine?
This was a real piece of news in Financial Times.
In Financial Times, in the Financial Times, we speak about that digital, artificial, parallel world only. And people are complaining that exactly they wrote their complaints to the central bank in the game and so on.
But it's creating a real world impact.
So the problem statement for the game developers is how to integrate all those financial topics that we just indicated now. How to integrate that interest rate, maybe even a compound annual interest rate. I wouldn't know a single game with a compound annual interest rate. Market data, trading options, how to integrate that, a professional, a sustainable, a trustful, a good and scalable way actually into games. And I think these are the major 3 stakeholder groups I would love to highlight today. So again, the consumers with having a huge portion of illiteracy, the banks with being totally disconnected to the digital world, and the game developers that want to embrace actually the financial world but do not find a technical solution for that.